Welcome back to the Commonwealth, everybody. Today we're going to be taking a look at the minigun. This is going to be our first heavy weapon in Fallout 4. So the minigun you can actually get really early on. You can actually get this and a suit of power armor as soon as you enter the town of Concord, which is kind of cool, but also doesn't set a great pace for Fallout 4 in my opinion. I really wish power armor was locked further into the main story, or not as accessible as it is in this mission. Either way, we're going to be taking a look at the minigun, not really power armor this time. So the minigun is probably going to be the very first heavy weapon that you find, as there's not a whole lot of heavy weapons in Fallout 4. This one is somewhat of a common weapon held by super mutants, as well as it can be held by other human enemies, particularly people like gunners can have miniguns. So for the stats of the minigun, this one does 8 damage per shot, very low damage, just like all the miniguns in all these games. They do low damage per shot, however they make up for that with the rate of fire and the DPS, because this thing has 218 DPS, so it does attack very fast. This one has 131 range by default, which is pretty decent. It actually has really long range. This one has 35 accuracy, so very low accuracy. I don't know why the minigun's actually so inaccurate. I do kind of wish that it got tighter the longer you shot it though, because it still seems to have the same spread regardless, meaning that if you want to use the minigun, the most effective way would be just to get up really close with it and use it. This costs 30 action points to use in VATS. I don't really use VATS in this game, and I don't know how great the minigun is in VATS, but 30 VATS doesn't seem like that much, at least for a weapon like this. This holds a magazine of 500 rounds in it, so it does take a while for you to actually have to reload this, which is kind of nice, and it reloads actually fairly quick, which is good. And this weighs a ton, weighing 27.4 weight. It is a heavy weapon, so it does make sense that it weighs a lot. You're also going to have to carry around a lot of ammo, and if you're playing on the survival difficulty, that means you're going to have a lot of weight in ammo too. For the pros in the minigun, this one does have really high DPS, which is fantastic. You would kind of hope that a minigun would have really high DPS since it has such low damage, and it actually has fairly common ammo. The 5mm rounds are not super difficult to find, which is kind of good for two reasons. One is that you could load them into the minigun if you really like using it, and two is that you could sell them, which is also a pretty decent way to make money because you can at least get a decent amount of them. And whenever you do find them in ammo boxes, they give you quite a few. For the major cons of this weapon though, it is very heavy. We also have low damage per shot, so this one doesn't do very well against armored enemies. Armored enemies can tank through the minigun pretty well, or just tough enemies in general can tank through the minigun pretty well. This does depend to some extent though, because you can cripple limbs in this. Even more so once you have more points to the heavy gunner skill, which makes it so this actually isn't such a big deal, because a lot of the time you'll just be crippling the limbs of whatever you're fighting, and it likely can't fight back, at least assuming it's a melee enemy. It also eats through ammo. So even though the 5mm is fairly common and you can buy a lot from vendors, you will go through the ammo really quick with it. I usually don't have a topped-off minigun regardless of how I'm playing it, assuming that I am using the minigun primarily. Main perk you want to go with here is Heavy Gunner. This will just get you more damage than the minigun. Other perks could be useful if you want to go with like Basher and put the spikes on this. That's actually okay too. That's not terrible. For a rating for the minigun on my tier list, I'd put the minigun honestly into D tier. I don't think it's really that good. It's not as good as certain other fully automatic weapons. Like a fully automatic 10mm I think is better than this. The handmade rifle from Nuka World is better than this. The combat rifle is better than this. So there are just better fully automatic weapons like this that kind of just do more damage and kind of have better roles for a weapon like this. This is still kind of cool if you want to go with a heavy weapons build, but you're probably going to swap this out for some other heavy weapons like a missile launcher. Let's talk about a modded version of this and where I'd put that. So the minigun doesn't get very many mods. It actually only has 3 mods that you can attach to it. And first up is the barrel. You have pretty much just 2 options here with barrel. Either the tri-barrel, which gives you more damage but a slower rate of fire. It's still pretty fast though. And you also have the high-speed barrel, which makes it so that you just have more DPS and you do a little bit more damage. Both of these can be good, depends on how much ammo you have. I put the tri-barrel on mine. I think that one's the best of the 3 options that you get there. It makes it so you don't go through ammo as quickly as you otherwise would, and it makes it so each of your shots do a bit more damage, which can be very useful for a weapon like this. Then for sights, you either have no sights or a gunner sight, so you might as well throw a gunner sight on there because it's a little bit better. It gives you slightly more stats, so just go with that one. And then for a muzzle, you either have no muzzle or you've got the shredder muzzle. And I would just say either no muzzle if you don't plan on bashing enemies, shredder or muzzle if you do plan on bashing enemies. The modded minigun is a little bit better than the regular minigun, but not by that much, so I guess I would probably like barely skirt it into C tier. It's an okay option, but really not that great overall. There is also one unique version of the minigun too, at least that you can always guarantee get. You can of course get legendary versions of the minigun, just like legendary versions of every weapon. This legendary weapon is called the Ashmaker. You get this during a quest, and this one has slightly better stats than the regular minigun. So this one has 9 damage per shot, it has 282 damage per second, has 77 range, so worse range overall. It has 39 accuracy, so slightly better than a regular minigun, 40 action points to be using in VATS, holds 500 rounds, and weighs the 27.4 weight, so it is still pretty heavy. This one has the incendiary effect on it, if you couldn't already tell from the name Ashmaker. So this is 15 points of fire damage per hit when you hit an enemy, or this is just more damage and then it burns the enemy. Fire damage on a minigun sounds pretty cool, however fire does not stack multiple times like certain other effects like bleed, so fire is not really as strong on the minigun as it might seem, where this will just keep resetting the fire. You will get a little bit more damage because you do have the fire on there, but this is just kind of barely better than a regular minigun. You would definitely want to swap this out for other legendary effects if you could. So again, bleed minigun is easily like top tier because it just has such a high rate of fire. You have so many bullets, and bleed does stack, which makes it incredibly strong on any automatic weapon. Other status effects would be better on this too, like armor breaking, 2-shot, unlimited capacity, explosive minigun would also be really strong. Any of those would be really, really good weapons. The Ashmaker by itself is not really that great. It's better than a regular minigun, so I'll also put it up into C tier, but it's not that much better overall, and you're definitely going to want to look for other legendary effects if you can get them. So that'll do it for the minigun in Fallout 4. Tell me your thoughts on the minigun and its unique variant, Ashmaker. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Tell me what weapon you'd like to see next, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.